Desde Michigan, desde Detroit, está con nosotros uno de los grandes, que es Stacey Pullen, y al cual le vamos a dar las gracias por venir aquí a Vicious Live. So we are talking right now, I have beside me a legend.
How you doing?
A legend here for Detroit. Mr. Stacey Pullen, thank you very much for being here. So for the first Vicious Live, we are standing and starting the new season.
And the headquarters.
The headquarters. That's headquarters. And this is the interview, so... teniendo en cuenta que Detroit es la ciudad del techno, la cuna del techno, ¿cómo está actualmente la escena en esta ciudad? Now in Detroit is the birthplace of techno music. How is the scene currently there now?
Well, the scene in Detroit now, it's a generation shift. You know, it's a different generation now. It's much younger than what it used to be. But you know, we have this festival in Detroit called the Movement Festival that goes on every year, and it's been going on for 13 years now. And the festival has been growing and growing. You know, people from all over the country, all over the world, have been coming there. So that kind of gives us the extra push that we need to have for the scene throughout the rest of the year. But you know, there are a lot of clubs in Detroit that don't really cater to the music that we love, but it's still underground. You know, it's still very underground in Detroit. That's how we like it. You know, that's how we're born. You know, but at the same time, I'm not really there that much to really see what's going on every weekend. But I do keep a hold to the scene there. You know, I do parties there every now and then, and you know, the Detroit scene is still growing, you know, but it's still underground, and that's how we like it.
Yeah, just right, because you don't have so much time to be there in Detroit watching.
Right.
Watching a lot of the scene is developing, and I think I hope that every time you come back to Detroit, you can find some kind of small pieces of changing.
Yeah. You know, and that goes to, you know, the new and young promoters that are, doing parties now. They bring in new acts, you know, new DJs come out to bring new sounds. You know, then you have the classic guys like us who continue to play around in the city when we do have time to, you know, be in the city as well. So, you know, there are a lot of aspects when it comes to doing gigs and having the scene, because there's a lot of politics involved with the city and the government, and you know, the crisis that's been going on in Detroit as well. So, you know, but we still have that undetermined determination to basically, you know, keep our scene, keep our music alive. You know, it's been alive for more than 30 years, so we're going to keep it alive for another 30 years, hopefully.
La segunda pregunta para Stacey Pullen es: Detroit ha sido siempre una ciudad donde, como ha dicho antes, que hacen los clubes. Sin embargo, hay buenos productores que desde sus bedrooms, desde sus habitaciones, fabrican música para todo el planeta. ¿Sigue siendo así? We were talking before, Detroit has been a city where there was not so much clubs.
Mm-hmm.
But there are very good producers making music from the bedrooms directly for the entire planet. Does it is still being this way?
Yeah. Well, it's the reason why Detroit is the way it is because, you know, the economic situation doesn't allow for us to do anything else but to create, be artists, to perfect our craft. You know, that we find a lot of inspiration in the spirit of Detroit, you know. That's why we've been able to carry the torch and travel around the world as ambassadors for our music and our sound, you know. You know, being stuck in bedrooms is a good thing, because, you know, that's where the creative energies flow, because you have your four walls and you kind of just lose yourself and immerse into music. I think that if Detroit was like a big city, like a New York or LA or London, I think it would get lost a little, because it would be so much going on that we try to keep up with the next person. You know, big scenes and big cities have so much going on that you kind of get lost in everything. But Detroit's a very small community where we use each other as influences. So that's what we've been able to do for a while now. And we have the new generation, but also we need to keep traveling and educate the kids now who probably don't know as much as Detroit as they should, and that's why I'm here.
Hace tan solo unos años, los programas de emisoras de la ciudad como la WDRQ influyeron en muchos de los pioneros del techno, como los Tres de Belleville, Atkins, Mastery Sanderson y Derek May, o el programa de The Wizard, de Jeff Mills. ¿Qué grado de influencia tienen actualmente las radios de música electrónica en Detroit? Just a few years ago, some radio shows in a station like WDRQ, I think it's correct, influenced many pioneers of techno as the Belleville 3, when Atkins, Kevin Mastery, Sanderson, Derek May, or The Wizard, Jeff Mills. What degree of influence have the electronic music station currently in Detroit?
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh, not good at all. Zero. But see, the thing about those stations and those guys who had their radio shows at that time is, we had a guy called Electrifying Mojo. Mm-hmm. He was he was a groundbreaking DJ who played everything from Kraftwerk to Whitney Houston to Michael Jackson to Detroit techno to Jimi Hendrix.
As like this strange mix of stuff.
Everything. He used to come on with these long introductions, like 2001 Space Odyssey. 15 minutes of just deep space sounds, like the mothership landing, and then he would just break out into some Prince or some Kraftwerk or some Tangerine Dream or some, and or some hip hop at the same, rap at that time. But then Jeff Mills came on the radio. Jeff Mills basically showed Detroit what you can do with two turntables and a mixer. Jeff Mills was, I used to watch Jeff Mills when I was 15 years old, go to the club and just sit there and watch him the whole night in amazement, Then Derek and Kevin and Juan, they got their shows as well, and that was when the beginning of the Detroit techno movement kind of took off, because they each had their own shows. I was at the university at the time. I didn't know anyone, and I remember coming home during the weekend, not going out, but staying next to the radio, press and record, so I can record the latest shows of each one, Derek, Kevin, and Juan, and Jeff. And I would take the cassette tapes down to the university with me and just listen to them all the time. Trade with my friends from Chicago. They give me Chicago house tapes. I give them Detroit techno tapes, So those guys were really influential for me and for Detroit at that time to be on the radio, because they were playing groundbreaking music, and Detroit was a little bit more open for new music at that time. It was before the big business came in and bought all the radio stations, and now it's completely zero.
Bueno, y ahora vamos con una pregunta de geografía, pero que tiene que ver un poco con la escena electrónica y musical, evidentemente, que nos ocupa entre los dos lados del lago. El lago Michigan separa Detroit de Ontario, Canadá. ¿Hay algún tipo de vínculo musical o incluso algún tipo de rivalidad musical entre ambas ciudades? You know very well, like Michigan separates Detroit from Ontario.
Yeah.
And that's the question. Do you think is there some kind of musical links or maybe a musical rivalry between these both cities?
I don't think it's a rivalry. I would say more of we kind of took Ontario up under our we kind of grabbed them by the head like this, I'm like, okay, if you want to be with us, this is what you got to do, I don't really think at it like that, but I think it's more of a brotherhood,
Yeah.
There are only a few. I mean, I used to travel to that part of Canada to do parties back in the days with John Aquaviva And, so it was, I don't really, and those guys came over to Detroit at the time. I mean, Richie, he had a resident at a club called The Shelter. He was called Richie Rich. He was called Richie Rich at the time, And, we would go down to see him, like, who's this guy from Windsor coming over to Detroit and playing this music that we created, But he made his impact, and it was a very powerful impact. And I'm happy that he's able to still carry that Canadian flag for them, because it's when it comes to the history of what we did back in the days in the 80s. He and John Aquaviva, those guys, they play an important role because they started their label Plus 8 Records, and they took some artists from Detroit as well to put on their label. So it's more of a, because it's only 2 minutes away on the tunnel or the bridge.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, and you're there. So it's very close. I mean, I used to go there when I was in high school just to go and hang out and party, just to get out of the country for a minute, So it's a brotherhood, like a little brother.
La siguiente pregunta tiene que ver con Richie y con John, pero ya me lo ha contestado todo. Ya lo ha dicho él. So I say that I have another question later. I'm talking about Richie Houghton and John Aquaviva because they live for a time in Ontario, and I want to know if you meet them there or not.
Yeah, I met both of those guys, and I would probably say I met John playing in a small club in London, Ontario, which is about a 2-hour drive from Detroit. And I can remember doing a lot of parties with him at this club called Heaven, I believe it was. And it was around that time when, like I said, those guys started picking up and picking up the more of the suburban aspect of techno, because we're city boys. So, they came with this Canadian suburban type of angle from techno, which was, I have to admit that it wasn't really accepted at first because, we were straight up hardcore Detroit guys. And then we're like, who are these guys coming in, infiltrating, But like I said, and then I can't really remember how I met Richie, but it was either at it had to be either at a party or just kind of having a meeting someplace and us connecting. I remember he did parties, and I used to call all of his fans the Richie troops because they would be there, 1,000 people. And the big, back in the rave days with the big baggy pants and the pacifiers and the colorful outfits, and it's still going on in the U.S. So, I used to call them the Richie troops, and because they were faithful, yeah, they're faithful. He had his army. Yeah, it was quite an interesting time, though.
And now we'll change, vamos a cambiar un poco de tercio, vamos a preguntarle ya directamente por aspectos más profesionales, más personales, a nivel de producción creativa. Y vamos a preguntarle un poco que nos hable de tu sello, de dónde proviene ese nombre, Black Flag Recordings. So, we changed from Laura and John the conversation, and we can also tell us a bit about your label, where the name Black Flag Recordings comes from.
Well, the logo for Black Flag is the Japanese word for black. So if you see the logo, it's the word black in Japanese. And I wanted to come with a little something, a little bit different aspect in doing Black Flag, because when I first started doing Black Flag, I just wanted to release my own music, sort of what Jeff Mills did with, Axis and Purpose Maker, and Rob Hood did with Implant, and Moody Man did with his label. But then after a while, I kind of licensed the label off a little, and then had some major music business drama that, it's a whole totally different story. But my idea for Black Flag was just basically to be free, you know, to be free to not be held against my will to conform against the society, conform with what they think is right, you know, being completely 110% independent. And but now, as far as artists and as far as me understanding that it's so much music to be heard and to be released, that now I'm releasing other people's music, not just my music, you know, because at one point I was just touring so much that I didn't produce enough for the label to be efficient enough to be releasing every month or every couple of weeks. So I decided to take a break and then really refocus on being an A&R for the label, and as well getting new artists. You know, I mean, that's what a label does. You know, yes. They create and, you know, release other people's music, not just your own. So that's where I am right now with the label. So, you know, it was more of a artistic approach. You know, I wanted to, you know, just sort of, you know, do my own thing and be completely independent, especially after the major label blues that, you know, everyone has every now and then. I won't say everyone, but a lot of DJs and artists go through the major label blues that I wanted to be totally independent.
Yeah, this next question, la siguiente pregunta tiene que ver mucho con esta primera que le hemos hecho sobre su sello de Black Flag. Y es sobre los artistas que forman parte del sello. Can you tell us what artist names, new talents do you have right now, or have an active part in the label?
You know, what's really interesting is that, believe it or not, I got a lot of Spanish artists on my label.
I know. That's one of the reasons I asked you.
Yeah, man. I mean, I got Sergio Fernandez. Yeah. Yeah. So you already know. I don't need to answer that question then.
Yeah, so I think it's...
Yeah. And it's really interesting because it just came out of nowhere, you know? I mean, after the success of Sergio's track, that was last summer, you know, all of a sudden I guess they start talking, you know. How was it working with this? How was it working with Stacey? I'm like, you know, and for me, I'm sort of now, I'm probably one of the labels from Detroit where I don't release just Detroit artists. If you notice in the past, a lot of Detroit labels only release Detroit music, you know, which is cool. You know, but I wanted to do a little something different because now we're in a new generation, you know, and I hear a lot of good music. You got a lot of good young producers out here that's producing good music. And I wanted to give them that chance under the Detroit banner, you know, and me having the experience that I've had from over the years, you know, I'm able to tell that, you know, this is a good track, or just this is, you know, a track that is okay, but I think they should work a little harder to release, because I'm really particular on what I want to release for the label. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Detroit sound, but something that I would play, you know. So yeah, I got some Spanish artists. I got a couple of Italian artists. I got a Canadian artist, Nathan Barato. Tony D from Italy, and then the release of David Herrero, just a couple of weeks ago. Sergio Fernandez, Paco Morato, who else? Myself, of course, and
the Spanish civilization there.
yeah, indeed. And then I have some more artists that I'm going to be releasing too. Argentinian guy, Elio Rizzo. Another release from myself, and then I got some good remixes from some of my friends like Nick Vanchuli and Martin Buttrich, and so I'm still going down that road of you know, releasing music from other artists and being the A&R, you know, being a label head.
But please, you can still make attention to focus of the Spanish scene, because there's a lot of very interesting good artists here.
Of course, I know that, and I'm getting emails every day from all of them. Hey, you like my track?
And now, vamos a hablar del secreto mejor guardado de Stacey Pullen. Now we're talking about the best kept secret, Mr. Stacey Pullen. And the question is, ¿cuándo estará listo tu próximo álbum? When it will be ready, your next album, Stacey?
I'm working on it towards the end of the year. I'm probably gonna start in January, because January after the seasons, after the Ibiza season, after the holiday season, you know, I like to sort of take a break from traveling January and February, and kind of get into the studio and concentrate. But I think that you know, it's been really interesting aspect in doing an album nowadays, because, you know, doing an album is a very special thing, and it doesn't happen overnight. You know, it may take 6 months, it may take 2 years to do. So, and now an album project is a good project, but I think a lot of we're in the 12-inch dance market, you know, well, the singles dance market as well. So, you know, I think what I would do is get some remixes from some people, but also concentrate more on 12-inch singles, and then compile the best out of those songs and do some special remixes, and then do a couple exclusive tracks. You know, I think that's the best route, because, you know, me being on the road so much, you know, I like to be in the studio. I don't like to just have my laptop in a hotel room. You know, I like to sit Indian style, light my incense, dim the lights, get my pizzas. You know, don't leave the house, don't shave, don't take a bath, do anything for that time of creativity. You know, that's how it is, man. That's how we do.
And what kind of stuff, qué tipo de estilos de música podemos encontrar en el álbum? Si puedes decirnos algo. What kind of stuff we could find in your next album? You can tell something, you can advance?
You know, I don't even know yet. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, you know. I don't really know yet, but I do know that I'm going to be doing some really Detroit influenced stuff as well, because that's where I'm from. You know, I mean, that goes without saying, actually, because my last album I did was more of a jazz album. It only had one techno track on the whole album, because it was at the time when I was reading Miles Davis's autobiography, John Coltrane's autobiography, you know, really influenced by the jazz world, because they experienced what we experienced in Detroit, you know, back in the 40s and the 50s. Yeah. Those John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, Charles Mingus, all those guys traveled to Europe to do live shows and was accepted in Paris, and, you know, and that's how it is for us. We had to come over to Europe first to be accepted before being accepted in our own country. So, but the next album will be a little bit more Detroit influenced, but also, you know, new school influence, because, you know, there's so much music out, and there's so many different influences that I take in when I travel. It's not just about, you know, me doing a Detroit album anymore. It's about me doing an album that's influenced me for my career and for my life. And that's where I am at right now as far as producing music.
Y vamos con la última pregunta de la entrevista a Stacey Pullen. This is the last question. This is easy.
It's the last one?
Yeah, this is.
I'm just getting started, man.
This is one. This is one. We want to know. We know you used to play all around the world.
Yeah.
Mostly in Europe. I know and I read that you're traveling all around the world and that you visit very, very interesting countries. Well, let's talk about your homeland.
Mm-hmm.
Which places, clubs, city, do you usually play when you are in the United States?
Well, it's kind of interesting, because now you have this big EDM thing that's going on in the US.
That's the corner. That's what I want to
That's the angle, huh? That's the angle.
What we're talking about.
So I fell right into it.
You can ask the same question, but in a different way.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right. Well, I'm going to put it like this. It took the U.S. 20 years to catch up, because I've been traveling for all that long all over the rest of the world, and now they're just not catching on, you know, because you got big budgets, you know, the multi-million-dollar companies now are jumping on the bandwagon. Oh, let's do this big EDM thing, you know. So it's kind of helped a little because it's brought, it's brought notoriety to what we've been doing all along, you know. But as far as the cities goes, I mean, I've had a lot of success in cities like New York, DC, Miami, of course, Chicago, San Francisco. San Francisco for me has always been a special place in my heart. You know, it was my very first performance outside of Detroit was in San Francisco. So San Francisco's always been hot for me. And then you got the small little cities too, like Lawrence, Kansas. You know what I mean? Gainesville, Florida. You know, small little places where you would never think that. You never think that. Yeah, you never think there's really anything going on. And then of course you got. I don't like going there, but then you have this whole big Vegas scene that is like the new Ibiza for the U.S.
That's
you know.
I wanted to talk later.
You know, and so I haven't been out there. Yeah, I don't gamble, so I don't gamble, so I don't want to go out there.
That's all the machine.
Yeah, no. So, so now with, like I said, now with this whole, you know, big influx of people interested in electronic music, you're seeing a lot of doors opening, a lot of better parties. But my thing is that now maybe once these people who are listening to the commercial music, maybe a year from now they will get tired of the commercial music and come underground where we are. I wouldn't say underground, but come to where the better music is. You know, even if there are 200,000 people listening to, you know, going to a festival on an average weekend someplace in the U.S., if we can get 2,000 people to really get to know and understand the music and where the essence came from, and get to know what's really behind the music, then, you know, let's do that. You know, that'd be acceptable for me.
There's an artist, a techno artist, I think a tech house artist from Slovenia called Umek.
I know Umek, yeah.
You know Umek? And I interviewed him 2 years ago, and he said me a sentence. He said, as the commercial scene could be more powerful, at the same time, the underground scene will be growing also at the same time to keep until the next or the same level of the same like the EDM. I think this is good.
Yeah.
You have EDM, you have electronic culture,
you
have an underground parallel, you know, the other side of the coin.
It kind of, you know, it feed off. It's like, you know, the excess weight comes off and spills over to, you know, the music that's really, you know, the driving force behind what's so big right now.
That's it. Y aquí esto ha sido todo con Stacey Pullen. Muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros en Madrid para este primer Vicious Live. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Again, I told you many times. I think twice or 3 times.
It's a pleasure to be here, man. You know.
Y do you know some words in Spanish, maybe?
I know a couple.
That's good what?
No, I don't. You know, I'm not going to embarrass myself.
Bueno, pues nada, además es muy divertido y nos lo ha demostrado y muy afable esta entrevista y damos las gracias. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros.
Thank you. Thank you.